Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday evening to you all. Hope you guys all had a fantastic day today and having yourselves a great week. As we wrap up our first week of 2023, before you know it, we'll be halfway through the year. But anyways, about to get to the weekend. We're all thankful for that. But in this evening's video, we're going to discuss that East Coast storm signal that we've been talking about over the last couple days. But some more, I wouldn't say details are emerging, but we're becoming inch by inch a little bit more confident that something is going to happen late next week into the weekend. What's going to happen? Who's going to see rain? Who's going to see snow? Who maybe sees both or neither? We're going to try to figure that out day by day as we get closer to the potential event sometime next week. But in the beginning of this video, we're going to discuss a couple little systems that can happen between now and the end of this coming weekend. One of them is going to be tomorrow. It could potentially deliver several inches of snow for areas of southern New England. And then another system late Sunday into Monday morning could deliver a little wintry weather for areas of the mid-Atlantic. I'm talking about you, Washington, D.C. There is the potential for that. So we'll briefly discuss that in the beginning of the video. And of course, as we get closer to that event, we'll talk more on it as far as the details. We still got a couple more days before that event. But like I said, 80% of this video is going to be discussing that event next weekend. If it ends up being an event, I think something is going to happen. I really have some pretty decent confidence on that. So skip ahead if you want to get to that. I'll put timestamps in the video 5 minutes after it drops. And, feel free to just listen to what you want to listen to. I don't blame you one bit. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Hit me up on Twitter, especially if things start to get a little wild out there over the next couple of days. It's a great way to follow along. I know not everybody's big on Twitter or social media in general, and I totally get it. It's cool. It's just something I'll bring up, when it starts to get very active. If you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. It's the most important thing out of all of this. So let's get rolling here. So we're going to jump right into it. First little event's going to be tomorrow. We're not going to talk much on this. We'll give you some more revised information on this tomorrow morning. But this is going to unfold over the next 24 hours. So moving through in time, we'll start this off this evening. We're getting into the overnight hours. And as we're getting into about midnight, look at this little plume of rain for the valley areas, but some of the hills, like these higher elevations in western Mass and northwest areas of Connecticut, it could be some heavy wet snow. And then, as we're getting into, at this point, we're around 5 a.m., you got heavy wet snow. So this is moving in tonight, not necessarily tomorrow afternoon, really tonight. You got some heavy wet snow breaking out over the entire western half of Massachusetts and southern areas of Vermont and New Hampshire. And then, but if you look, it's too warm in the valleys of New York State. It picks up on the valleys very well. Blue showing up in the higher elevations, but just rain in the valleys. And we keep this moving forward here. By the time we're getting into daybreak around 7 a.m., 8 a.m., I mean, it's snowing pretty good. So there's a chance that you go to bed tonight in areas of southern New England, depending on where you're located, and there's no snow on the ground. And then you're waking up tomorrow and it looks like a winter wonderland. Certainly possible, as a little low pressure is going to try to deepen, and the system's not over. As we're getting into about mid-morning tomorrow, it's snowing in a good chunk of the state of Vermont, New Hampshire, and a Mass. And then you got a little piece of energy back here too that will work its way further east. So snowing in some parts of the higher hills of New York State, even Pennsylvania, and then some rain in others. It's going to be a very marginal cold event. Guys, I know my grammar is not always correct. Sometimes I'll make up words in these videos. I know probably some of you folks catch on to it, but believe it or not, to be doing YouTube, I am not a naturally good speaker. So sometimes I get to rambling and I slur some words. So definitely call me out on it. Tell me if you don't understand what I'm saying, and I'll take some constructive criticism. So let's keep rolling here. Moving through the later morning hours, we're getting through here in time. Look at this. I mean, this is around 11 a.m. It is snowing like crazy in areas of northern Connecticut. It might even work its way into the northern sections of Rhode Island. And then the entire state of Mass, probably central to western Mass, really, is snowing. Not just snowing, it's snowing pretty heavily. This is going to be a quick little moving system that moves through, packs a punch, And by the time we're getting into the early afternoon hours, it's still snowing. I think somebody could easily get a half a foot of snow out of this, even though most of the snowfall accumulation maps that I'm going to have to show you do not show anything close to that. Some of them do, but I think you could get widespread 4 to 6 inches of snow tomorrow across southern New England. It's kind of a sneaky event that has not been talked about much, but it's snowing like crazy in these areas. And this low pressure begins to deepen, and I really think the rain will eventually turn to a heavy burst of snow for areas like Boston, northern Rhode Island, maybe even southeast and eastern areas, and certainly eastern areas of Mass, but maybe even southeast areas of Mass. And then it's snowing in the down east areas of Maine, and we'll keep this rolling here. And just a snowy day across southern New England tomorrow. I really think it's going to be. You look at the snowfall accumulations from this. This is from the National Weather Service. I think this will go up, but calling for about 2 to 4 inches of snow in some of the higher elevations of Mass, even sneaking into areas of Rhode Island and Connecticut right here. But I really think a little bit more snow than what it's showing right here could fall. This is the duration of that event tomorrow. But you look at the HRRR model, I like this a little bit better. I think the HRRR model does good in little quick systems like this and picking up on how things could overperform. But the entire state of Mass, besides way out here in southeast Massachusetts out here, picks up accumulating snow. And I think there will be areas that pick up 6 inches of snow tomorrow. I really do. And northern sections of Connecticut, Rhode Island, a few inches of snow is likely, in my opinion. I do think it is, and then southern sections of New Hampshire and Vermont could pick up several inches of snow also. So it's a quick hitting, under 24-hour event, heck, maybe even under 18-hour event that hits tomorrow. That I'm not saying it's going to catch people by surprise because you guys are used to snow up here, but this is uptrended over the last 24 hours. I kind of briefly mentioned it this morning, but it's pretty wild. I really think that some areas could get, I think somebody can get an isolated 8 inches of snow. We'll see what happens. You guys let me know what y'all see up there. But getting into this event for later this weekend, we'll start this. This is Sunday afternoon, January the 8th, this weekend. Watch as it's the latest Euro. We're getting into Sunday afternoon. Look at this. This is even into the Piedmont of Virginia. Certainly the higher elevations of Virginia. You got a little bit of light snow, rain-snow mix breaking out. So Roanoke, you're certainly probably going to see a wintry mix sometime Sunday. I think it's possible. I think it's likely. And then you keep moving this through Sunday evening, and a good little burst of moderate wintry precipitation, frozen precipitation in these areas of far eastern West Virginia, Western Virginia, and even Northern Virginia. Heck, maybe even Washington, D.C. as you're getting into the late evening hours of Sunday could see a little bit of snow, a little bit of frozen precipitation, but I think a few inches of snow, maybe some sleet, maybe a little bit of ice could fall. Now, there's been an argument on whether it's just been too warm up here. I don't buy it's been so warm leading up to a winter storm kind of deal. I do think soil temperatures obviously have a big player on, say, if it's been 60 to 70 degrees for a week leading up, and then all of a sudden a winter storm hits. Yes, snow will probably take a little extra time to accumulate than if it's only been in the 30s and 40s for the week leading up to a winter storm. But there's an old saying in the weather world, it's called rates will overcome. Meaning, if it's snowing hard enough in these areas, if you get a heavier enough burst of snow, it lays a foundation of snow on the ground, and the rest is history. It just starts accumulating. So the soil can cool a lot quicker, and the pavement can too, than what I think people realize. So we keep moving this throughout the overnight hours of Sunday into Monday morning, and I really think this will just be a quick little winter weather event for areas of the Mid-Atlantic. But we'll see. Some other models are a little bit more bullish on this, but I can tell you the national blend of all models, it doesn't show much at all for this. Like trace to a dusting, a coating of snow for these areas. Not a whole lot. It does show a little bit of ice. Not a lot, though. A little bit of ice showing up for West Virginia and Virginia. I'll be interested to see if this uptrends. So we'll watch this little event. So let's dive into the system next week, the potential system next week. We're going to talk about a couple things, guys. First off, I'm going to show you the European and the GFS. You're going to see the European plastered all over social media regardless. It's probably going to be shared for the next several days, even long after it's not showing it no more. So what I'm about to show you is going to excite a lot of people in the southeast areas of Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, North Georgia, Virginia, areas of the Mid-Atlantic. But remember, what I'm about to show you is one model run, and it will look totally different by the time we get into the overnight European run. But I'm showing you this for a reason, and that is I'm going to show you it, and then I'm going to show you why it's showing it. I'm going to tell you why it's showing it. I'm going to tell you the factors of what's driving the Euro to show such a wild snowstorm that I'm about to show you. And then I'm going to show you the GFS and how it doesn't show it and why it doesn't show it, if that makes sense. So let's take a look at the European. Going through in time, here's that little system I've been talking about before our first signal that has a player in if our main system, that's our main discussion topic in this video, actually plays out. So low pressure right here, piece of the northern stream right here, actual low pressure, piece of the jet down here basically. These come down, they do not connect in time to bring a substantial winter storm. If this was to move north and connect with this, or this move south, well, really this move north, then you could have a big pace bomb, a big snowstorm for the Northeast. Does not happen, but the European does have it phasing somewhere over Southeast Canada, like Nova Scotia or Nantucket. So that becomes what we call a 50-50 low. It's almost like a sacrificial storm, and I'll talk about what that means here in a second. Basically, it allows for cold air to funnel in. You see this 540 line right here. It allows for cold air to funnel in behind this. High pressure moves in, and then as high pressure moves in, here comes our next system. Now this is getting into the morning of the 13th. We're 7.5 days out, 8 days out, guys. Look at this. Cold air damming coming up. You got a 50-50 low over here. This is locking in a high pressure right here. Enough cold air gets dammed into this region, and all of a sudden you got freezing rain breaking out in upstate South Carolina, wintry mess breaking out over the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee and areas of Virginia. And then look at this. We're getting into Friday evening of next Friday evening. Obviously not this Friday evening. If it was showing it this Friday evening, then we would have a legitimate winter storm that will be on the heels of us right now, or right in front of us coming up. But in this case, it shows a big pace bomb. Pace bomb meaning a lot of heavy wet snow, all the way down to Atlanta, Georgia, snowing in areas of Chattanooga, Knoxville. Charlotte, major winter storm. Low pressure develops, really gets going off the coast of the Carolinas, and it is snowing, not just snowing, guys, but snowing heavily in this entire southern Appalachian range right here, including all the states that you see. And then this keeps going. Low pressure rides, and there's a deformation band that forms behind this, and then the rain wraps the snow. But I don't even know why I'm explaining this in detail, because this is one model run. But this is a massive run, guys. This dumps 2 feet of snow in areas of North Carolina and dumps a foot of snow in areas of South Carolina. Same thing with North Georgia and in areas of eastern Tennessee. So that's what the European shows. And if you were to keep this going, it would go on to probably show a pretty substantial snowstorm for the I-95 corridor up into the Northeast. Now, what does the GFS show? Because I'm not going to jump on here and just show you the best looking model. First off, I don't like doing that anyways without telling you what the driving factors is into it. So moving forward here comes our sacrificial storm right here, if you will. Low pressure right here, piece of northern stream right here, and it's a miss, right? Well, one thing you already notice is this low pressure is riding a lot more east rather than northeast. I'll tell you what that means here in a second. So this moves out. Here comes our next system, and you can already tell this thing is cutting. Now, it tries to transfer right into here somewhere. This still brings snow for areas of the Great Lakes region, the Northeast, and you kind of get like an upper level low that pops off the coast of North Carolina. This kind of brings a little bit of cold air, but it's its own cold air, and it's not enough cold air, even for the middle of January. So this is the same storm. So you look at this, right? The GFS is totally different. All rain. Normally it's the GFS being goofy and showing some wild, crazy winter storms. In this case, no. And then you look at the European, guys. This is what the European shows for that same time frame, which is basically next weekend. The time frame is next Friday into Saturday and Sunday as of right now. It could change, could buffer a couple days. But there's a huge difference, right? And there's a reason for that huge difference. So, excuse me, I had a little burp there. Moving forward here, I know you're just seeing a bunch of pretty vibrant colors, right? So I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can, because like I said, I hate just jumping on here and just showing you flashy model runs and then heading on out. Because I know there's some people who do that. It's not a knock on anybody, but I want to explain why. This is why the videos are 20 to 30 minutes long, guys, because we want to know why. Because a lot of people just see a snowflake on their default weather app and just immediately assume it's going to snow 7 days from now. There's so much more that goes into it, guys, besides a snowflake icon. But moving forward here, we'll start this next Tuesday morning. So let me make sure I'm in the right spot. So here comes that first low pressure, not this one, this one. This is the first one. It moves in, right, pops off the eastern seaboard, and this is the European. So we're trying to figure out, why is the European showing such a crazy run? So this is the European showing, this is basically showing high pressure, troughing, low pressure, ridging, things like that. So, and there's a reason I'm showing this specific thing, because I think it does a better job indicating the cold high pressure and things like that. But I'll show you another way here in a second. But here's the low pressure right here. This isn't the main storm of interest. This moves through, and look what happens here. It kind of gets way off into the eastern seaboard. I'm sorry, way off the coast of the eastern seaboard into the Atlantic. And then here comes our storm of interest right here. Not a lot of cold air around, right? But watch what this does. It kind of gets looped in and gets really close to Nova Scotia and Nantucket, these areas of Canada up here. This becomes what we call a 50-50 low. It's not meaning there is technically two low pressures, because there's the main precipitation maker right here, and then there's this one. But this becomes a 50-50 low, and what happens here is, you see this high pressure? This helps to lock in a high pressure temporarily. Now, the placement one and the strength is huge. For one, the strength, how much cold air is this high pressure going to supply? Placement, well, I mean, the closer it is to the mid-Atlantic and southeast, the better. The better feed into cold air it is. So this 50-50 low locks in this right here. And then one thing that we're not going to get super detailed with right now is the fact that you also have a tall ridge in the western U.S. trying to build. The taller this is, the more this digs, the more it digs, just the better it is for more people further south. If you're a winter weather fan. Remember, I'm always talking on behalf of winter weather fans. But this locks in a high pressure. So this high pressure is starting to funnel in cold air right here ahead of our system. So as we're moving forward here, high pressure moves in because it's starting to be able to move a little bit further east in general as this 50-50 low begins to kind of scoot on out. It's kind of lingering, but in general, it's got this high pressure locked in for long enough to feed just enough marginal cold air in. And the fact it is, look at the date, it is mid-January, the coldest time of the year for most in the eastern and central U.S., throws in just enough cold air into this region, and all of a sudden, this is a major winter storm right into here. High pressure right here funneling this cold air, this 50-50 low locked in this high pressure for long enough, even though it's not very strong. This time of the year for a lot of areas, you don't need it to be very strong. Remember, the higher this number, the stronger it is. High pressure wise. So here's that low pressure. Then this moves on through. High pressure still meandering around, and certainly plenty enough cold air for the northeast on here. So we'll back this up. Notice the placement of this 50-50 low right here. We call it the 50-50 low. This is another way to look at it right here. 50-50 low. In this case, the red you see here, this is our chilly or cold high pressure. You see the cold air damming where the line's buckling into the Carolinas. That is cold air being fed east of the Appalachian Mountains, which is right into here. I'm going to get like I said, guys, I'm going to get a cursor so I can circle some things on here in the future. Funneling in cold air, shallow cold air east of the Appalachian Mountains. And as it does, this system with rich, moist air and precipitation rides over this shallow cold air, and then you have a major winter storm in as far south as North Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, and certainly would be a player for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast if you were to keep the run going. So, those are the factors. Now, if you're wondering, why is the GFS not showing anything? This is why. Here comes that low pressure that we talked about that becomes a 50-50 low in the latest European. Well, look what it does. This low pressure just heads on out to sea. It's like, yo, I'm not helping you out at all. I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to head out. So this doesn't get locked in to Nova Scotia or Nantucket or anything like that, or just areas of southeast Canada. This is where we want our 50-50 low, which has to do with latitude and longitude, if you're wondering why it's a 50-50 low. I can get detailed on that here in the future, but latitude and longitude and just where it's at geographically and the coordinations and things like that. But anyways, don't want to get too detailed. I'm already getting way more detailed than I probably should, but I'm just nerding out right now, so I'm going to keep rolling. So that same low pressure that you see right here, and we'll back it up. Let's match the same time frame. So 18Z Thursday, 18Z Thursday. Notice the placement of this 50-50 low. European, the favorable winter weather scenario is right here. Funneling in a supply of cold air, locking in our high pressure is right here. And then the GFS, it's way over here. So you still got that high pressure moving in, but watch what the high pressure does. It's just kind of heading out. There is a high pressure up here, but it's way, way too far north. Way too far north, and nothing's locking it in. And it just kind of, either it'll get suppressed or it just cuts. And it ends up probably turning into some kind of cutoff low and just getting lost. And there's way too much marginal cold air for it to work out for winter weather. So hope that makes sense. Next thing we'll talk about really quickly is the European Ensemble. So it picks up on these potential, all the scenarios from the Ensemble, which makes up 50 runs on the European Ensemble. So you'll see a bunch of L's pop off the coast of the eastern U.S. And here's that first signal right here that we're watching, which might be the sacrificial storm for the potential for the big one that we've been talking about. This moves on out, but here it goes. Here comes our big signal right here. Moving in, it's kind of like a hybrid Miller-B system. And look at the big signal right off the coast of the southeast. Many low pressures showing up. It's not literally going to be like 20 low pressures, but you get what I mean. It's an ensemble run. It like creates one run to make an ensemble mean, kind of like it just shows all the general members that are showing a low pressure. And in this case, there's multiple. I'm not going to start counting how many, but solid signal. And it's a very large signal as we get into the weekend that there's going to be some kind of storm system around late next week into the weekend. Even though it's pretty far out, this is an incredible agreement that there's going to at least be a system, whether it's cutting, whether it's a favorable track for a winter storm, we don't know. This is another way to look at it. I haven't shown this much ever in my videos, but this is actually an ensemble run. It actually creates a model run off the ensembles, if that makes sense. So focus your eyes on this blue line right here. That is the 540 line. So the 540 line, or the 0 degree line, and the 850s of the atmosphere, which is about a mile above our heads. So if you keep this at 0, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, about a mile above our heads, that means you might have a warm nose, but the warm nose does not go over that 32 degree line, which means you would probably have winter weather falling in all levels of the atmosphere. In general, that's what it means, meaning you'll have winter weather reaching the surface. If you get south of that 0 degree Celsius line and the 850 millibar line right here, that means you're probably going to have just good old-fashioned cold rain. So you move this in, it shows a signal for a lot of precipitation getting into next Friday. And notice that line right here, that blue line. But notice it begins to drop, and to me, this screams a big triad of North Carolina. Big winter storm for the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, even some snow for Tennessee, and then certainly Virginia. If I was in Virginia, this is a solid signal for you guys. But if you're listening and you're from South Carolina or outside the mountainous regions of North Carolina, it's not over. And as you're getting into next Friday evening, it's not over. It's barely even getting started, right? I mean, we're over a week out. But you see all the green on the north side of this blue line, that's likely falling as some kind of frozen precipitation, whether it's snow, sleet, whether it may be. And I mean, look, it's dropping into upstate South Carolina. I can get as detailed as I can in here, but there's no point really. But this is a solid signal for the I-95 corridor if you want winter weather. All the way up from, Roanoke, Richmond, Washington, D.C., New York City, solid all the way up to Boston. It really is. So we'll continue to watch this. Last thing I'll show here, and then we'll wrap this up, is this is the European Ensemble. And it's a solid signal, guys. This goes out about 10.5 days, and I think it's going to get wintry at least for a period here about mid-month. And there's a chance for a big dog system. Is there going to be one? We just don't know. But I can tell you what's wild is the GFS Ensemble. It's not really supporting its GFS operational run very well, meaning there's a pretty substantial signal into these CAD regions, all the way into areas, even upstate South Carolina, for some kind of winter weather coming up late next week into next weekend. So you see this little, how it's kind of doing like this right into here. That screams cold air damming to me. That means cold air getting trapped in the mountains, east of the mountains. That's why the signal isn't that high in Tennessee. So we're watching this, guys, but really what has my attention is the support from the ensembles, one, but two, just how we've had run after run, well, not run after run, but about 3 or 4 runs in a row on the European that it showed a similar looking scenario. The GFS continues to be goofy and be everywhere, whether it's showing a massive crippling winter storm or something opposite, but that's all I got, guys. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully the educational part helped, but that's all I got. God bless all y'all. I'll have you an update in the morning, and stay safe out there.